So excited. Thank you so much, everyone, to the world's first World Menopause and Cancer Awareness Day. Pinch me moment. And we're here today united to call for change. My name is Dani Binnington. I am so happy to see so many friendly and familiar faces. It's truly like being amongst all of my best friends. It's lovely. I'm the founder of the not-for-profit organization Menopause and Cancer, and I'm feeling really proud today that I stand here today as someone who's got lived experience of menopause and cancer, and to just be here to shine a light on the world's first Menopause and Cancer Awareness Day. And I think together, all of us are making history, which is super cool. More than a century ago, women gathered for the very first International Women's Day, and they had nothing more than us today. They just had a vision and a demand for equality and a better future. And change has to start somewhere, right? And tonight, with this first World Menopause and Cancer Awareness Day, I think we carry the same spirit forward. I really feel quite humbled to be here today with my own history of cancer. So much of my own life comes into this whole day, and all of you that I've met have been on this journey with me a little bit along the way, and also to be supported by all of our amazing supporters. It's truly incredible to see all of your faces. And we want to shine a light on something that has for far too long been really left in the shadows. Come on in, Lavinia. The unspoken, life-altering, long-term side effect of cancer treatment, the menopause. We're here to acknowledge it and acknowledge all of you. We want to validate it, and above all, we want to honor the courage and the strength and the resilience all of you bring into your own lives every single day. I want to take a moment to welcome all of you, because there truly are so many brilliant people here today. People with lived experience, our healthcare professionals, our industry leaders, our charity partners, our friends, our researchers, policymakers, politicians. And also I want to acknowledge our community that is joining in via live stream globally, which is brilliant that we can make this event accessible to all of you wherever you are in the world. And I also want to thank the Royal Society of Arts for generously gifting us this beautiful venue. They have been tackling challenges and driving change for over 200 years, and it feels quite right that we're here today with the very same ambition to bring about the change that is so urgently needed. Because that is what we're here today, to call for change, to ensure that menopause support is no longer absent from cancer care, and to ensure that survivors are not left alone to struggle. And today we have something really powerful to share, the voices of more than 1,200 people who took part in our latest research survey. Their stories, their struggles, and also their hopes are all part of what fueled this campaign. Tonight, you'll also hear from some of our leading doctors. You're all amazing, and including Alison Macbeth, Claire McCauley, Mr. Vikram Tilaulika, who's on the television for us right now. But there are also so many other amazing doctors in this room, and I just think without you, we would be nothing. So thank you to all of you. You will share your insights with us in a little while. And, you know, when I first met all of you healthcare professionals, and some of them aren't even here today, but that's when I truly realized that really good menopause care is absolutely possible, because it happens in your clinics every single day when you see your patients. And so then I thought, well, we just need a little bit of hope and a little bit of courage so that we can make this possible for all patients out there. And that really gave me the hope that together we can do better for everyone. So welcome to an evening of courage, of truth-telling, of hope, and of connection. We'll do a few drinks and canapes later downstairs. And with that, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Alison, our first speaker. Sorry. Do you want me to do my background now? Yes, if you read out the first sentence.
Right, okay. Sorry. So at Menopause and Cancer, we did a patient survey of women, and 97% felt that they did not receive adequate support from their healthcare professionals for menopause resulting from cancer treatment.
My first breast cancer experience was sadly familiar for many. I completely understand that treating cancer is serious and should be the main priority, but all along I was told my cancer was treatable and I need just surgery and then drugs for 5 to 10 years because it was hormone driven. I don't recall any further discussion about the medicine except when I was unexpectedly prescribed chemotherapy. Alongside it, I was prescribed a drug called Zoladex to suppress my ovaries, and I knew that I would be given that for a number of years. The only advice I was given was that I might have a few hot flushes. Nothing prepared me for the onslaught of symptoms that appeared almost immediately once I'd had that first injection. I had 20 to 30 hot flushes a day. I'd find myself stripping down to my vest in the middle of the street in the middle of winter, trying to cool down. My sleep was disrupted with the hot flushes and then night sweats. I had brain fog and I couldn't remember my words. And my confidence at work really suffered. So at one appointment, I asked my oncologist at the time what could be done to help manage these symptoms. They said it wasn't their area of expertise and I was advised to just take a supplement. I left feeling really helpless and really frustrated. How can someone who is prescribing me these drugs with these hideous, debilitating side effects and symptoms not be able to help me manage them?
Hi, so I'm Alice Macbeth. I started life as a GP, and I still am a GP, but I mainly work in a breast surgical clinic in Scotland. I've been working there for over 10 years, and work in Lochfine as well as a GP. And from day one, I saw all these women who were really struggling with the side effects of their treatment, and nobody was addressing it. And they weren't really, even the women weren't even talking about it because they didn't realize they could talk about it. But the more they got to know me, then the more they opened up. And so many of them were telling me that they'd stopped their treatment because they couldn't bear the side effects. And I think from a GP point of view, we possibly are more holistic than some other specialities. And so I could see this suffering, and I thought, what do we do about it? And it seemed logical that we should all have a menopause clinic within each breast unit, and I couldn't get my head around why we didn't. So I did my advanced BMS training, and it took a while. It took a lot of pestering from hospital management to set up my secondary care clinic. Fortunately, my surgeons were really supportive and our oncologists were really supportive in Glasgow. And so we set up our clinic and we've been going for about 4 years now. So it's a specialist menopause after breast cancer clinic in Glasgow. I was also diagnosed myself with breast cancer last November. In fact, I found out the day that we did our first healthcare professional training. So had to stop my HRT, and in the throes of menopause, including brain fog, as you can probably tell from my stuttering start earlier, the brain fog, the flushes, it's no fun. We all know it's no fun. So that is essentially me, and that's what I do. And I was just telling Dani, my absolute passion is treating the genital urinary syndrome of menopause. So the vaginal issues, the bladder issues, it's such an issue. I think it's reported as maybe about 89% of women struggle with that, and so many women are denied treatment. So I have been pestering the living daylights out of BMS. I think that's fair to say. And I've just found out that they are changing their wording to allow women to have a conversation about vaginal estrogen if they're on aromatase inhibitors. Thanks so much.
Alison, do you feel it's a daily struggle?
Yes.
In
But
what?
personally or professionally?
Both. Both. Go tell us about the struggle. In your professional world.
Yeah. So you know, we're obviously we're trying to cure or you know sorry, terrible brain fog. Yeah, so we're trying to treat, we're trying to prolong women's lives, and so we're giving them all these treatments, and you know, we're extending life expectancy. We've got a 90 to 95% cure rate now with early stage low risk breast cancer. But I think we're missing the collateral damage that we're causing. And it's got to be a holistic conversation about quality of life versus longevity. And it's a constant juggle. You know, you help the breasts, but you affect the bones. You help the boobs, but you affect the brain. You put your cholesterol up, you harm the heart. And it's this constant daily struggle. I kept up at night always worrying about young women who are put into menopause in their 30s, and you know, what's happening to their heart, their bones, their brain. It is like, you know, it's a constant worry and battle.
Thank you for everything you do. I'm not Vikram, but I want to take a moment to acknowledge Vikram, Mr. Talaulika. He's someone very special to our organisation. And the survey result he was going to read out for us is 95% of the people that participated in our survey felt that their healthcare professionals did not have adequate and up-to-date knowledge of menopause management following cancer.
Hi, my name is Ellie Waters-Barnes. I am 24 years old and I went through menopause at 15 years old following my cancer treatment. So when I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma, which is a type of soft tissue cancer. And because of that, I had to have 18 months of cancer treatment. So this included intensive chemotherapy for 9 months, followed by a year of maintenance chemotherapy. And then I also had some pelvic radiotherapy in between as well. So yeah, it was a crazy time. And then went into remission thinking anything that life throws at me now, I can cope with because I've just been through 18 months of hell. But how wrong was I? Because I completely underestimated menopause. As amazing as my pediatric oncologists were during my treatment, they themselves weren't used to dealing with menopause in young people or anyone for that matter. So I don't think they really knew how to counsel me on that, and maybe didn't recognize that potentially they should have actually referred me to a menopause specialist. I had a lot of fatigue, muscle and joint pain, vaginal dryness, had hot flushes, night sweats. I was getting up 2 or 3 times in the night to go for a wee. And all these symptoms I thought were due to my cancer treatment and would eventually get better with time, but actually they end up getting worse. So much so that when I was sitting my A-levels, I was worried about whether I would be in a state that I could sit long enough to sit my A-level exams, because the pain from down below due to that atrophy and dryness was so bad that it was too much to bear, thinking sitting for 2-3 hours. And despite telling my oncologists about these symptoms, they themselves hadn't joined up the dots. Personally, I think there should be much better menopause support for cancer survivors, regardless of their age. So much is impacted when you go through menopause. So being able to have a specialist to help guide you and coach you through that really difficult time when you've already been through a very tricky time is like of utmost importance.
That was Ellie. Mr. Talaulika can't be with us today, but it's really super great that he can get the message out to really millions of people with his appearance on live TV tonight. Mr. Talaulika has a little message for us, which he pre-recorded just in case he was going to be late. So here goes.
Welcome everyone who is here today for giving up your time to come for the World Menopause and Cancer Day. A big thank you to Dani and her team who have worked tirelessly in this space for the last many years. There was nothing in terms of help or support available to many individuals across UK, across world, before Dani and her team decided to launch Menopause and Cancer. And today there is a vast wealth of resources that they have created, which can help women who are navigating the journey of menopause following cancer. I'm sorry I could not be with you today. I will try and join you later. But this is a message to thank Menopause and Cancer, Dani Binnington and her team for all that they have done in this space in the last few years. And we can see the results. We can see that healthcare professionals are engaging more in the discussions about menopause and cancer. More and more individuals as well as healthcare professionals are taking keen interest in learning about what this phase entails.
Oh my God! Oh my gosh! Come on up! You must come up, please. You must. How was it on the telly?
It was good. We tried to raise the flag of menopause and cancer as much as we could.
What questions did you get?
It was very quick. I mean, you go there, you have your 5 minutes of fame. So by the time you're greeting and meeting, it's time to, okay, one question, that's it. But it was good. They asked about what's the importance of the day. I think they asked about what is the situation with regards to support for cancer and menopause. And then I think the stories. It was very powerful to hear Jane and Lucy share the stories, which was amazing.
How amazing that you could make it. It's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you.
I did thank you. We had a little video of Ellie playing. Is there anything that you want to share with us from the many years of working in this field that is important to you, of what you've learned or where you're heading, what's happening?
So the only thing I would say, Dani, is all credit and all kudos to you and your team. 10 years ago, when I did the clinic at UCLH, women walked in, and my mentor, Prof. Davis, is here. So when women walked in, they often talked about the treatment options, what can be done, how can I get my support and help. But often it was a one-way dialogue where we had to then give options, counsel about things. Today, almost every other woman who walks in through that door says, I've been to menopause and cancer, can I have this? And that's the change you've done. So to you and to the whole team, this is entirely your day. And the launch of the World Menopause and Cancer Day belongs to you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so chuffed you could make it. This is so great. Is it Claire's turn? Come on up.
So as part of this survey, 99% of participants said that they had had no pre-cancer treatment plan for the management of their menopause or any changes that they might experience during or after their cancer treatment. And we're going to hear from Helen about what that feels like.
It was a huge shock to be diagnosed with cancer, and the treatment was brutal. And when you think of cancer, it's probably the most horrific thing you can think of. However, I can genuinely say that the experience of menopause for me is worse than my cancer or my treatment. Menopause was something which came completely unannounced. My surgical team told me that my periods might stop. That was the extent of anybody mentioning anything to do with what I now know is menopause. I was kept in the dark. I was treated like a child for that part of things. In other parts of my journey, my treatment, I was given lots of choices, lots of patient-centric care, which was really amazing. But menopause was this black hole. Nobody spoke about it, it was not even mentioned to me that menopause would happen. It's time to talk about menopause and cancer because we're here. There's thousands of us who have survived. And thank goodness that those numbers are going up all the time. Survivorship is increasing. We need to now concentrate on our quality of life after our treatment. We're not just statistics. We are people with hopefully long, healthy lives ahead of us. And how our menopause is supported can make an enormous, immeasurable difference in that quality of life after cancer.
My name is Claire Macaulay. I'm a breast oncologist and I work in the west of Scotland in Glasgow alongside Alison. And stories like Helen's are somewhat heartbreaking for me, I think, in that we go into this job to do the very best for people. I went into this job to support people to come out the other side to live long and healthy lives. And it was only when I started talking to people and asking the experience afterwards, realising that Helen's experience, which is actually when I leave you and the safety and comfort from you and I go back into my real life, actually things might often be quite worse than they were through that whole period when I was having chemotherapy and having a difficult time. And that took me to become interested in what was happening to people after the event, after they left the safety and comfort of my experience with them. And what did it really mean for their lives afterwards? And what was I doing if I was leaving people with the endless experience of their life after cancer, having got them through maybe the 9 or 12 months of their oncology treatment? What did it mean for them afterwards, and experiencing and understanding that people's experience was often significantly life-changing. And that took me to doing some training around menopause. My particular area of expertise is around sex and relationships after menopause and after cancer treatment, and that took me to training as a psychosexual and relationship therapist, which I use in my clinic room alongside my oncology treatments, because your lives matter after cancer. I think it's often the sense that getting through the initial cancer treatment is the bit that's important. Keeping you alive is important. Well, what is the point in me keeping you alive if your life is utterly miserable as a consequence? And so the difficulty then lies is, well, where does the responsibility lie to catch all of that? Is it a breast surgeon? Well, what more does a breast surgeon know about menopause? Is it the oncologist? Well, their job is to get you through safely the oncology cancer treatment part of it. Is it your breast care specialist nurse who's trying to cover all of those things? And the truth is, or your GP ultimately afterwards, and that's often where things end up ultimately, is with your GP, who is no better informed, or not necessarily informed. They're looking at your healthcare in a holistic way, but they're not speciality trained in oncology or cancer or anything else either. So how does that gap get filled? And of course, that's where Dani and today's day comes into, is that we need to be starting to think in a much more joined up way about what it means to be a thriver after cancer. What does it mean when you leave me and the comfort of seeing me every week or every 3 weeks or whatever your chemotherapy is, and there's something around that it is often at the point in time where people leave their initial acute services that they start to fall apart, because the enormity of their life-changing experience that comes after that without anyone to catch them. And so that's where organisations such as Dani comes in. It's why those of us in the room are such big supporters, because we know that there is a massive void in terms of what happens to you after you've had this experience. And we can do something about that. We can train healthcare professionals to understand a little bit more about the treatments that they're prescribing and the impact on you. I know there's unlikely, if you come to have oncology treatment with me, that you're going to develop a side effect that I don't know about, or you're going to develop a side effect I can't help you with in relation to your chemotherapy. We should be thinking about menopause and the menopause treatments and the hormone treatments that come afterwards in the same way. How do we manage those symptoms? How do we make life bearable? Because we know that about 50% of people will never finish the treatment that they started. They'll never get to 5 years. It is in our professional interest to help you to be able to stay on the treatment, because we know that the treatment improves your outcome in the long term. It is in our interest to understand how to support you to stay on your treatment, because I do understand how scary it can be to stop your treatment, knowing that that's not the advice that you've been given, with all of the uncertainty and all of the scary prospects that might bring. And so calling for change today in terms of us all working together. Ultimately, when you come into the consulting room, there are two experts in the room. I am the expert in your treatment, and you are the expert in you and your life and what's important to you. And we need to support healthcare professionals to be able to have those discussions with you so that you can make decisions that feel right for your life. And that's the point of today. And great thanks to Dani for filling that void and that space that you need to be able to live long, healthy, happy, productive, joyful lives after cancer.
Thank you, Claire. In lots of our media interviews today, we were asked who holds the responsibility, and at no point as an organisation do we ever want to point a finger at anyone in this picture, because we are just where we are at, right? It's not ideal, we know that, but it's not anyone's fault. But we also do know many oncologists are quite reluctant to listen to us and to have these conversations. How can we encourage them? Because I also know you have very little time. In the few follow-ups, you have very little time to talk about all of that. So how could we improve?
Like a lot of things, we can't be experts in everything, you know, and I think a lot of the reluctance comes from not really knowing. That's the honest truth. I think if we were genuinely honest with ourselves, patients asking us questions that we don't know the answer to doesn't make us feel very good. And so often some of that is around understanding, it is about education, it is about knowing, am I the right person for this? Do I really have the time to go into this just now? Because obviously each part of, or the team, if you like, that's surrounding you on your cancer journey has their own area of expertise. And we need to try to start to think about, well, where do we hold that expertise in terms of life after and what that actually means. And I think the patient voices and patient advocacy is hugely important in all of that, because you know what it's like to live with it afterwards. I don't, it's not my lived experience. And what matters to you matters to me. And also what matters to you might be very different to what matters to you. So understanding that we really need individualised care, because there are some women come in and tell me they've got no problems whatsoever on their AI. It's not, you know, so we have to be able to understand that everyone has their own individual experience, and beginning to understand how we can sort of pull those threads together so that everyone can get access to the care and support that they need.
Thank you so much, Alison, Vikram, for making it. Claire, thank you so much. And also Rachel, Ellie and Helen for their little clips. That was brilliant. And I'd just like to take this moment back to where my own journey started, because it is my pinch me moment, remember. And remember, team, I never gave a speech at our wedding, so you've got all of me tonight. My twin girls were 2 when I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, and my eldest daughter was 4. And this picture was actually taken 2 years after I completed active breast cancer treatment, and it was on my twins' first day of school. And it was like a dream come true. Everything we've always ever wanted, wasn't it, was to see the children start school, and they were hanging off the railings, and it was our dream come true. And I also thought it might be the end of my journey with cancer. But I'm still here today to talk about it all, because what's really taken me by surprise is that the menopause is ongoing, isn't it? And so when a few years after my cancer diagnosis, I was pushed into the sudden surgical onset of menopause, I was confused. Like many people I speak to, I felt overwhelmed. I didn't know where to turn to for help, and I felt very much alone. But what I discovered was that community and connection can make an enormous difference. And almost by instinct, I created my first Facebook group, and I started to reach out to others. And what happened was really astonishing, because within weeks, hundreds of people from all over the world, after different types of cancer, came and found the group. And every single one of them was also in menopause because of their own cancer treatment. And community really, really does matter, and we are here as a super strong community today. We also know that research tells us strong social support, that people with a history of cancer can cope better and can actually have a better quality of life after cancer. And I saw this firsthand in the simple act of getting together, and I just realized I wasn't alone, and to me it actually was a form of healing, which is why at Menopause and Cancer we're so passionate about creating community wherever our community are and helping them do that in their own way. As we began to sort of share our stories, everyone was echoing the same thing. Everyone said, I don't know where to turn to for help. I don't know what I can do about my symptoms. And everyone was really lugging behind them a whole suitcase full of symptoms. But the more intently I started to listen, through our groups, through our workshops, Lavinia, we've been to many together, haven't we? So many stories are always shared. The more outraged I became, and really outraged at the lack of support and lack of care people receive every single day. And that really, my poor husband had to hear that outrage all the time. But you'll all be very lucky and glad to hear that I turned that rage into a roar, didn't I? And here we are today with a very loud roar. And actually also something inside of me shifted then. When I let go of that outrage and I found my roar, it wasn't about my own story at all anymore. It became about your stories, about their stories, and all I wanted to do is really listen to everyone else's story. And it really allowed me to imagine a better life for us all. As Dr. Edith Eger says, and you may know her, I stopped seeing myself as a victim, the young mum with 3 little girls who was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 33. I became a survivor. Victims ask, why me? And survivors ask, what next? And my what next, as you all know, is menopause and cancer. And it was just fantastic for me to turn my outrage into a roar and to find my why and my why next, and that was our organization. And so to everyone gathered here tonight, whether you're living with the impact of cancer or whether you're supporting your community of cancer survivors in whatever capacity you've showed up today, I know that you are part of this movement, and wherever you are in the world, whatever you do, I know you make an enormous, enormous difference. And that actually brings me to the people that help me every single day to turn that vision into a reality. And it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to some of the people in my incredible team, because we're nothing alone, are we? These people are fundamental for trying to turn my vision into actual amazing projects. I can't thank you enough, all of you. And first up, someone has been with me for a very long time and who is instrumental really in making this organization grow. Every policy we have, everything when we have to just be super, super resourceful, it's because of you, Esther. Thank you so much. But you are also, yes, you are also responsible why year after year I have to embark on very, very long marathon walks. Esther Pye.
Thank you, Dani. Well, I have to start with a bit of an apology because I'm probably not going to be as eloquent as you. So anyway, hopefully I'll be okay. It's lovely to see you all here today. Thank you so much for coming. So I'm Esther. I'm a fundraising manager here at Menopause and Cancer. And as Dani said, just after I started, I perhaps rather foolishly suggested that I would walk a marathon to raise money for menopause and cancer. And I really distinctly remember Dani saying, well, I can't let you do that alone. And she didn't. And she and I and Rachel and a handful of other amazing supporters, some of whom are here today, volunteers, walked our very first marathon along the River Thames, and we raised some money. And since that time, so that was 2 years ago, hundreds of people actually have joined us in fundraising events, walks. They've run marathons, they've walked marathons, and yeah, so this is a picture of some of us on our Oxfordshire marathon hike, our marathon weekend last year. What you can't see from this picture, this is in Blenheim Palace, was that the landscape around was completely flooded. So we timed that quite well. Basically, yeah, it was all flooded, and we had to replan our entire marathon route, literally the night before. So we managed it. It was a challenge, but it was really, truly amazing. So I've been with Menopause and Cancer pretty much since the beginning, sitting with Dani around her kitchen table with a big vision and very limited resources. We are a not-for-profit organisation, and the main part of my role is to find funding to make the vision real and to make it tangible and sustainable. After I joined, the more I learned, the clearer it became, and it was a steep learning curve, just how urgent and overlooked the issue of menopause after cancer really is. I also had to get to grips with quite frankly, a very challenging funding environment. But looking back, it's really incredible to see how far we've come. Makes me a bit emotional, actually, sorry. We are now a small but really mighty team and surrounded by some amazing experts, volunteers, community. So thank you all. We've become a trusted national organisation supporting many thousands of people. Last year, we directly supported over 1,800 or 2,000 people. So that's directly, so that's in-person events, workshops, retreats and in-depth programmes that some of you may have attended. And through our digital channels, it's quite amazing, in the last year alone, this has been our reach. So yeah, it's quite incredible. Yeah. So we know that there's still a really long way to go, and there are millions of more people out there who deserve to feel less isolated, better informed and more empowered in what is, quite frankly, one of the most difficult chapters of their lives. So in fundraising, there are highs and there are lows, and there are wins and there are setbacks. And no matter how worthy and impactful we know our projects are, it is a continuous struggle to find funding and to secure it. It's not just about keeping the lights on, it's actually about changing lives. So we're lucky enough, actually, in the time that I've been working with Dani to secure some key funding. I want to extend special thanks to the Pink Ribbon Foundation, who were the first to fund our projects. So it was funding for projects for breast cancer patients, and this was honestly transformational for our organisation. Lisa from the Pink Ribbon Foundation is here tonight, so I just want to say thank you so much, and they continue to support us, so it's amazing. Thank you also so much to our other funders, those who've donated, who've fundraised, who've supported us in so many different ways. And on that note, I'd like to welcome Rhiannon, who is our new partnerships manager. So she's over there joining us. So welcome and thank you. One of the achievements that I'm most proud of, well, it was a team effort, is securing funding from the National Lottery. And this was for some of our core activities, but also really importantly for our volunteer project. And on that note, I'm going to hand you over to Naomi, who's going to tell you more about that. So thank you so much.
My glasses on. Hi, I'm Naomi. Thank you, Esther. And I have the privilege of looking after our incredible volunteers and also running our menopause clinic. Thank you. Thanks to the lottery grant, we have been able to train over 40 volunteers who now represent us online and in communities all across the country. These, our volunteers attend conferences, local events, and bring our message into spaces that we just couldn't reach alone. Their presence means that we're reaching women from a far more diverse and underrepresented communities, and that's essential if we're truly to tackle the health inequalities that exist. When I speak to our volunteers, a theme runs through everything they say. Many tell me that they volunteer because they never want another woman to feel as alone as they did. Others remind me that to make just a difference to one person makes it worthwhile. Their passion is extraordinary, and it's working. Everywhere we go, we're asked to share more knowledge, more education, and more stories. And we're now rolling out the menopause workshops led by these incredible volunteers in their local communities. And this has happened in just 4 months. When I first joined 5 months ago, I think, I was really shocked at how little awareness or education there was around menopause and after cancer. I heard stories of women being thrust into menopause, sometimes in their 20s and, as we've heard, even younger, with no explanation of the effects of their treatment. I met others that had been managing their symptoms well, only to have everything change overnight with a cancer diagnosis and to be told that they could no longer use the medication that had helped them and they were simply left to deal with it. And this is just not acceptable. I also helped to run our menopause clinic, which we've been able to fundraise for, so that every week at least one cancer survivor facing menopause gets an appointment with one of our incredible specialists. some of which are here with us tonight. Time and time again, I hear the same words from the patients that have been to see one of the specialists, and it's amazing just to feel heard for the first time. And while it breaks my heart that so many brave women that have already endured so much are left to face a crippling menopause unsupported, it also drives me to want to help change that reality. What touches me most is how much our volunteers themselves gain from this work. The connections they make, the compassion they share, the power of walking along someone who understands. These moments are profound. Just recently, during a walk and talk, one of our volunteers told me how much it meant to simply listen and to be present with someone who finally felt less alone. And that brings me perfectly to Phoebe, because she is the one that makes most of this happen.
Hello everyone, I'm Phoebe, our marketing and project coordinator here at Menopause and Cancer. I help work on our events, marketing, social media, including lots of those emails you get popping into your inbox from us, as well as getting involved in lots of the other projects that we have going on at any given moment, because there are so many. When I first joined Menopause and Cancer after finishing my degree, I had no idea the true impact this fantastic organisation had on its community and the thousands of people we would be supporting each day. From organising a 2-day fundraising walk in Oxfordshire, which very nearly got rained off, as you heard about earlier, just a couple of months into starting my role, to jumping on board the social media platforms, newsletters, planning retreats, and many of our other events, it's safe to say we're a pretty fast-paced organisation. Through working on the social side of Menopause and Cancer, it's been fantastic to see the growth that we've achieved building our community. On Instagram alone, we reached over 500,000 people in the past year, and we now have over 18,000 followers. Our surveys show that social media is one of the key ways our community connects with us and learns from us, so we take our work seriously to help provide information and support to our community through these platforms. Social media not only allows us to provide a sense of community, for example, through our Facebook group, which is where it all really began, but also raise awareness and share educational resources. These resources range from YouTube videos and podcasts to blog posts and written materials, because we know that everyone learns differently and we're committed to making our content as inclusive and accessible as possible. Through many of our events, in person and online, I've had the privilege of meeting some very inspirational people. Aside from everyone on the Menopause and Cancer team, who are truly wonderful and they make the organisation what it is today, meeting members of the community and seeing the positive impact we have is what really brings what we do each day to life. There are 2 words that spring to mind when I think of everyone that I've met so far, and that's resilience and positivity. Each individual truly shows that whatever life throws at you, resilience and positivity can carry you through. Which perfectly brings me on to our director, Rachel, who is definitely someone who shows resilience and positivity every day here at Menopause and Cancer.
I'm Rachel, and you saw my video earlier, so I really hope I get through the next few minutes with no brain fog and no hot flushes. I think you all know how I feel. So it was that appointment, that very first appointment that I had, which also was perfectly timed with a Facebook post from Dani saying that she'd launched Menopause and Cancer and she was looking for people to help. And that appointment left me feeling so frustrated that I felt compelled to offer my support. I had previously worked in global retail organisations leading growth projects, and I thought, can I put some of those skills into something that is more personal and worthwhile, and can I help Dani? And that's what I decided to do. I wanted to help Dani and the organisation because I really did not want anyone to have felt as frustrated and as let down as I felt in that one appointment. Because whilst my cancer treatment was brilliant, my first experience of menopause as a result of cancer was not, and the support simply was not there. But fast forward a few months, I had a local breast cancer recurrence in my mastectomy scar. It was treatable. I am well now. I went back to the same clinic, different oncologist. much more heavy duty endocrine treatment. I didn't realise there could be anything more heavy duty. But in that appointment, what I had was information and advice on the symptoms that I might experience from that treatment and practical tips around how I might navigate it. So I had two very contrasting experiences. One that left me feeling really isolated and alone, and another where I felt really empowered and informed. And it's that lack of consistency in care that fuels my passion today, because if it happened to me like it did the first time, I knew it was happening to others, but I also saw that you could have a good experience. We as an organisation see the increasing demand for our services. We know that healthcare professionals are stretched and have limited resources and have very little menopause-specific education in cancer care. So we as an organisation are determined to support both patients. Patients always will be our priority, but we also want to help healthcare professionals. And we are so proud of the CPD courses that we've run in our organisation. Forgotten to click. We as an organisation see, we know that the problem is growing, as I've said already, and we decided to look into just some of those stats and what is the longer term potential problem. And we learned that by 2050, 16.3 million women globally will be diagnosed with cancer each year. And we also know it's brilliant that there are advances in medicine and many more people are surviving their cancer treatment. But that also means, and we are really happy about that, it's brilliant. We also know that that means that many more will be living in menopause after cancer. And if the right support and advice isn't given at every stage, the long-term impact on health for the patients, both physically and emotionally, is huge. And we don't also yet know, but it will have a cost to the NHS and also the wider economy if we don't do something. We know that it's a growing problem. We're calling for change. The global statistics are really, really shocking, but at the heart of our organisation is individual stories, and they are what keep us driving forward. And I'm going to hand you over to Jane, who has our own story to tell.
I didn't realise that was going to be me. So I've just been on the telly with Vikram. A very exciting moment. Dani has been my absolute cheerleader. When I found her, it was actually through another charity called Working with Cancer. And the irony was I had just been binned off from my first job because of my menopausal symptoms. And I Googled Working with Cancer, and there was Dani being interviewed. And this was right back at the beginning when you were just having the idea to set things up. And so I emailed Working with Cancer and I emailed Dani, and the beginning, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, because I went through the old crash menopause overnight. It was due to tamoxifen. I actually came off it. So I'm one of those women that just in the end had to bin it off. But what it has brought me to eventually is poetry, and expressing myself through poetry and spoken word and open mic nights and comedy. And so just beware, there are sweary words in this. So this first one is called All the Little Things. It was all the little things, like the 3 dots across my chest, a Sharpie sister tit-tat for life, shadow punch bruise still there on my breast, remnants of mag trace, that hard-bitten detective sent in by brutal beasting to track down the lurking lymph node nastiness 5 long, short years ago. It was all the little things, that cyclops eye overhead as I lay frozen, caught in its gaze, hearing the radiotherapy whine in my mind and down my arm. Still that sliver of pain when I type, or hang washing, or drive, or carry my rucksack on the right-hand side, my go-to arm reduced to reserve. It was all the little things, like how my skin began to sag and how my waist began to spread and how my bones began to ache and how my mind began to race, chasing endlessly after what once was. It was all the little things like feeling sad and happy and angry and lost like Glasgow fucking weather. All the seasons in one day, up and down, a swinging pirate ship at the shittest theme park in the world. Newest member of not one, but 2 clubs that no one was ever keen to join. It was all the little things, like how my flaps began to crack and my clit went from a fat and happy pea, a party girl who'd always served me well, to a sad, dried up, miserable lentil. No HRT for me, you see. SSRIs instead to right my head and cool my jets and ease my sweats. But sex drive crashed right off a cliff onto the jagged rocks below. It was all the little things, like you shouldn't drink alcohol and you should put healthy food upon your plate and you shouldn't be so anxious and you should meditate and you should exercise and put you first to feel complete and you should share but no details as such and you should cry but not too much and you should kill off the voices in your head that tell you you'd be better off dead. We think you're just depressed. Take these tablets, it's for the best. You should stay cheery, try not to mope. You should cope and cope and cope and cope. It was all the little things, you see. Thank you. Thank you. But this one's a bit more cheery. A little bit more cheery. This is, and Dani doesn't like this title, but this is the title, and once the title is the title, that's it. It's called In Praise of Dani Binnington, Goddess of Menopause and Cancer. When cancer came to get me, I didn't run and hide. To be honest, I buzzed on nonchalance. I took treatment in my stride. I lapped up the praise, the compliments. I enjoyed prezzies, work on pause. It was a rest from my real life. I was a martyr to the cause. But once I was all better, it's gone now, right? You're fine. Attention gone, old life was gone, a far more tricky time. I crashed into the menopause with all the hell it brought. Overnight changes took me to my knees, overwhelmed and overwrought. I thought that it was only me. I thought that I was weak. I thought that other people coped. I tried to turn the other cheek. I fought through fogged bewilderment. I crawled through rage and pain till Dani, saying the words I'll never forget, "You will get a dry old fanny." Before that moment, I didn't know why the fall had been so quick. I didn't get the reasons I was feeling quite so sick and thick. Her lovely voice filled up my ears. Her podcast told me I'd get through it, slowly building my resilience with a fuck you cancer toolkit. So here I am, still standing proud. Almost 5 years now have passed. And another thing that's absolutely sure, menopause can kiss my arse. It sounds strange to say, I'm very sure that I'm actually glad I'm here. How else would I get to lose my shit, but still take other people's fear? So I think that's my lot, because the other one is called Oversharing, and to my husband, who is a very private man, I'm sorry, not sorry. And I'm not sure whether he, having never heard it, would appreciate it going out globally. So if you want to hear it, come and find me in the bar afterwards. Thank you.
In all these years, it is really the connections with people like Jane and so many others. And Lucy, thank you for going on the telly for us today. You're amazing. It has been really connecting and hearing those stories that are just absolutely powerful. So today we make history, we write history, and we're also calling for change. There are 3 really important messages we want to send you home with today, and I'm going to read them out for you. We want menopause support to be embedded into pre-cancer treatment discussions and long-term cancer care planning. And you know what's brilliant? We don't need millions for that to happen. That can happen tomorrow, and all of your conversations can help make that happen. We're also calling for change, for improved menopause and cancer-specific training for healthcare professionals. I often say the people that might fix your car at the moment, if it's an electric car, they might not have had training in fixing electric cars 25 years ago, but they skilled up because a lot of cars are electric cars now, aren't they? And so together we're doing so much to really embrace our medical community who are so brilliant and just helping them skill up a little bit in maybe how to have those conversations or where to signpost their patients to. And again, I think it all starts with that conversation, and we can do that as of tomorrow. And the third change we're calling for is for better access to therapies and specialist care, so everyone living with and beyond cancer can manage menopause safely and effectively. And as I said, today we write history, and tomorrow we're going to knuckle down again, all of us, and we're going to work on that change that is so desperately needed. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Drinks and food and mixing and mingling and more poems of Jane downstairs. We want to hear that. Thank you. Have some fun and talk to lots of people because everyone is so brilliant in this room. Go and chat.